Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Andrew Warren, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a huge piece of news, not only for Tesla as a company, but for Tesla stock as well. And as many of you all know, Tesla takes up a big part of my portfolio. It takes up about 39% of my portfolio, and I have about $33,000 in value of Tesla stock. And keep in mind as well that the majority of my net worth is in the stock market. So a big part of my net worth is actually Tesla stock. So this portfolio diversity percentage, that 39%, technically about 39% of my net worth is in Tesla stock. And I've emphasized this before, I really want to accumulate wealth. I want to grow it tremendously if I can. And that's why I have a focus on only 3 main stocks. And with my perspective, I know that diversification is to defend yourself against ignorance and to sort of like maintain wealth. But when you have it in a small number of stocks that you expect to grow tremendously in the future, and ones that I've done a lot of research on and stuff like that, when I have faith in those stocks and I think that I've done enough research to confidently invest in them, when I only have a small number of stocks like that, and if they eventually do grow at a very good rate, then that means it's much easier for my portfolio to grow in value compared to if you just invested in something like an index fund or an ETF like VOO that gets about 10% in gains per year. So obviously 10% is nice, but I would really love to grow that much more than 10% a year, and that's really what I'm doing with my portfolio right now. I'm confident in my positions, and I'm really hoping that I can grow it tremendously in the future. I started in December, and as you can see right now, I'm at about, plus 19%, so I'm already beating the market. I'm not being overconfident or anything like that, but I am just generally confident in my positions in the stocks that I've chosen, and I try to keep the diversity at a minimum because, like I said, I'm pretty confident in these 3 choices that I've made. So I just wanted to emphasize that Tesla stock actually does take up a lot of my net worth. According to this, it's something that takes up like 40% of my net worth. So that is why I like doing, news videos around Tesla. Not only is it just really interesting to me to talk about Tesla as a company and the things that are happening within that company, and of course Tesla stock as well, but it also correlates to my net worth. So it's a huge factor in my life, of course. And so that's why I like to do videos on Tesla stock, because it is a primary focus of my channel and something that I find very interesting. So if you all do enjoy these news videos where I talk about Tesla stock, and even just the breakdown videos and the transparency videos where I talk about new purchases and stuff like that, then please make sure to smash that like button, drop a like on the video. It really does help me out, and also feel free to subscribe as well. And by the way, I actually just recorded like a full commentary and everything, and pretty much finished this video and realized that I wasn't recording. So I'm redoing it this time, and I hope that I explained things just as well as I did the previous time before. But anyways, like I said, we had a huge piece of news recently come out revolving around Tesla. But keep in mind though that positive news doesn't always correlate to an increase in stock price. Sometimes you can have really good news and the stock price still may be down, and then other times you'll have like really awesome news and the stock is just absolutely skyrocketed to the moon. So sometimes it's not always consistent in terms of like the correlation between good news and share prices moving upwards, but then sometimes there's also a correlation between those two as well. It seems like the majority of the time when there is good news, it does lead to the share price increasing in value, but that's not always the case, and that's just something to keep in mind, that even with this huge game changer news, it still doesn't mean the stock price is guaranteed to go up. And then also sometimes investors simply just factor in news early, and this is news that people probably could have figured out before it was officially announced. This was just officially announced by Elon just to emphasize this further, but I'm assuming a lot of people knew about this already previously. So keep that in mind as well, that with the stock market, people like to factor in things early, and that's one of the main reasons we've seen like such a big emphasis on this V-shaped recovery right here, because people have factored in a return to normal life already. So that is something to keep in mind as well. But moving on, we'll go ahead and jump over to Twitter with Elon Musk's tweet, in which he states that the Tesla Model S now is the first ever electric vehicle to receive an EPA range rating above 400 miles. So this news alone is a huge deal, and it's something that I'm very happy to see to come out of Tesla. And of course, he replies to that tweet down low to emphasize further, stating that all Model S cars made since late January have the 402 mile range. This is just making it official. So like I said, some people may already know about this, but this is just an official statement by Elon. And he also linked this article in the tweet which further discusses this. So we'll go ahead and click on this. And as you can see right here, it emphasizes, it states, the Model S Long Range Plus, building the first 400-mile electric vehicle. So like I said, this is a huge piece of news. It's the first 400-mile electric vehicle. It really shows that Tesla still has the advantages in battery technology, and I think it emphasizes that the Model S in 2012 only had a 265-mile range. But keep in mind, a lot of EV producers and manufacturers are still having a difficult time even meeting the 2012 standards of the EV Model S from Tesla. So that's a huge deal as well, that some competitors out there can't even match what Tesla was able to do in 2012, and that's a big talking point for a lot of Tesla investors as well when it comes to the idea of competition against Tesla, because there's really no competition right now, and that's why the stock price is up so high for Tesla. There's never really been any competition because no one is really forward thinking like Tesla is, and Tesla has been wanting to wean the world off of fossil fuels for such a long time, and I feel like this company as a whole is more than just like searching for profits. Obviously they want to make money and they realize this is a huge lucrative business if they are at the forefront of this movement. But also with Tesla, there's some genuine care for humanity in the world as well. I feel like there's some really good morals in this company because they want to do what is good for humanity. They really look at humanity from the long-term perspective, and they want to do what's really good for us. And a great way that they do that is by putting every other, quote, competitor's feet to the fire and making such big moves like they're doing right now. And that's a really big way to get people to transition because, as we know, this is a big money business right now. We know this transition is eventually going to happen, and with Tesla being at the forefront, not only are they making money, but their position also influences other manufacturers and automakers to finally want to transition to this lucrative business. But keep in mind, this is especially and much more lucrative for Tesla because they started out as an EV business, whereas a lot of these other legacy automakers have to do a full transition, which includes a lot of time put into the transition and a lot of money put into the transition because they have factories right now that are primarily producing what will be archaic vehicles in the future. But like I said, this article emphasizes a huge improvement on battery efficiency and of course optimization within their company as well. And as you can see right here, it says all Model S long range plus vehicles will receive the new 402-mile rating. And it emphasizes right here that there has been a 20% increase in range when compared to the 2019 Model S 100D with the same battery pack design. So like I said, a lot of this is due to the improvements on the battery technology, and that's really at its core what Tesla is trying to do right now. As we know, Battery Investor Day is coming up soon, and that's going to be a tremendous event if it does happen, and if they actually host an event, that's going to be tremendous for Tesla as a company and the overall consumer perspective, and of course investors as well. I think this will have a big influence on share price, but that could already be factored in. I think a lot of it already is factored in. So when there finally is the event, it doesn't mean that the share price will move, just like how I mentioned at the beginning of this video in relation to this article. But overall, just in terms of the information that will be revealed on Battery Investor Day, that's a huge day for everyone because it's when we finally get more perspective on the processes that are occurring with improving their battery technology and stuff like that. And just referencing something that I've seen previously, I saw a chart talking about the improvements on battery technology like the lithium-ion battery that Tesla vehicles use. I think it said normally there's like a 5 to 10% increase in that technology every single year, and right here we're seeing a significant increase in just 1 year in which they've been able to achieve a 20% increase. And it goes on to talk about this further on where it talks about significant mass reduction and much more, like aero wheels and tires that have been able to add a 2% improvement to overall range, and then they increased the drive unit efficiency, which added another 2% to range. And they've also emphasized maximizing regenerative braking, which is another huge aspect as well. So that's something to keep in mind. Within the past year of models, they've been able to beat the typical rate of like 5 to 10% improvement per year, with the most recent year being a 20% improvement. Some of that is due to the battery technology, and then some of that is due to these factors as well, like the tires and drive unit efficiency and reducing the mass of the vehicle and stuff like that. So this emphasizes further that they're not only trying to improve the battery technology to increase range, but they're also adding other adaptations and improvements to the vehicles that affect the mile range as well. So overall, they're doing a lot to improve the mileage in terms of just, improving the battery technology and then these other factors as well, like I mentioned. And then finally, the last piece of this article emphasizes a continued investment in supercharging. So it talks about how they've invested in creating more V3 supercharger locations across the world. And in my opinion, this is one of the most underrated factors in terms of driving more customers to Tesla. And that is simply because there's a lack of superchargers in some locations in the United States, and that includes where I live. The closest supercharger, I believe, is like an hour away. So if they can really drive up the creation of supercharger locations, especially in the United States and of course in many other locations in the world, then that's what I really think could get them a huge amount of customers coming in to buy Tesla vehicles. Because when you have that comfortability of knowing that you have a place that you can charge up that is local and close to you, then you're more likely to get a Tesla vehicle or a vehicle that uses those superchargers. And as we know, Tesla kind of has a monopoly on charging locations like with these superchargers. So they really have like that monopoly of owning the majority of modern day EV charging stations, in my opinion. And like I said, really investing into these charging stations is a huge deal. I think it's such a huge underrated factor that some people don't emphasize, because in my area, I have never seen a Tesla, but I'm assuming if the availability of Tesla charging stations like supercharger stations, if they were more available in areas like this, then of course, like I said, that comfortability is there, and then people may be more likely to test out an electric vehicle like a Tesla, and that leads to more consumers. And as there are more consumers, you have people like me that start to see Teslas on the road when I've never seen Teslas on the road before locally. So when that happens, there's that cultural influence in society where if someone has something, you want to see what the fuss is all about. You want to see what the big deal is. So you check it out for yourself, and when you find out that you like it, you buy that as well. So there will be a huge cultural influence as well, thanks to the development of more supercharger stations across the world. And keep in mind that this is an investment where you may not see a lot of results within the first year or so, because that's when people are really adapting to this transition, especially in more reserved areas when it comes to people that just prefer ICE vehicles and don't have a lot of experience with electric vehicles. Obviously, you might not see the positive results or positive returns within the first year or so, but as those locations get developed and there's more of them in that area, and as people get used to it, then I think in the long term, that will really help with the transition. And of course, not only do you have this assistance with this transition, but it would also just give Tesla more charging stations and would kind of give them a further advantage in reaching like almost like a monopoly on charging stations for electric vehicles. So like I said, the supercharging I think is a hugely underrated aspect, but the disadvantage right now in my area is just not having enough charging stations. So when that does happen and they really start expanding this, then I think that's really when they start getting more customers as well. And I think it's a huge aspect that could of course drive up revenue in the future if they do really stomp their foot on the pedal and start making a major investment into creating more of these. So anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I just wanted to give you the rundown on this little article right here. I love it when Tesla releases like a full transparency update like this. And even if some of it is already information that we're aware of, because of course, you know, there's a lot of huge Tesla fans that look up every single detail and become knowledgeable on new events in the Tesla world. But I still think articles like this that officially emphasize certain aspects that are important, I love reading stuff like this where it just gives us a transparency update. I think transparency is really awesome, and especially as an investor, I love to see it. So huge shout out to Elon for posting this on Twitter. An awesome article. I recommend that you read it for yourself because there's some really cool information in this article. But anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to smash that like button, drop a like on the video. It really does help me out. And like I said previously, I just think it's fun to do videos on Tesla because it's a very interesting topic, of course, but it also relates to my money and my net worth as well. So that's why there is such a huge primary focus for Tesla on my channel. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you would like to begin investing, feel free to use my referral link in the description below to Robinhood and Webull. If you sign up with those links, then we'll both get some free stocks. Here are just a few examples. It's actually some nice passive income that only takes a few minutes. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Stay safe out there.